All right, welcome everybody to the NWO show. We're doing the pre-show. So, pre-show starts about an hour before the actual show starts. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Um, for those that are new, we are the longest-running talk show in Eternum. Functionally, we've been around for about almost 2 years, and we're one of the few live talk shows that run New World content. So, with that, we have an exciting show tonight. We'll our kind of like pre-show is a little bit more casual than the actual show, but we do have a good time planned. Something's up here.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Well, welcome to the pre-show. Sorry,
Voices of New World. At some point, I should do an ASMR stream. Just whisper quietly. I hear that's all the rage in other categories.
I mean, I don't know whether it's still the rage. Like, it was definitely the rage until hot tub streams came along. But
true that. So I'm gonna throw this out there. If anybody has a topic that they are interested in, that they want us to take a look at, please reach out to us. Be more than happy to have you guys. Be more than happy to fill with content there. As the chatbot's gonna say this throughout the stream as well, but we are being syndicated through our partners over at newworldfans.com. So we're happy to have the additional exposure that gives us, and appreciate people dropping in.
yeah, much love to those the guys over at New World Fans.
Absolutely,
they did us a solid there.
New World Fans, the Studio Loot team as a whole, really just knocking it out of the park in terms of content creation, and functionally have a wonderful site. Like, highly recommend their guides.
I mean, I hope you guys liked my news article that I put up on there. Hope it's not. I hope it's informative enough and not, not too waffly.
So we got an interesting set of topics, and we've got kind of a wide variety of actual like expert advice from these topics. Especially when it comes to talking about the GPUs, which is going to be a really big one in terms of topics, because it doesn't go the direction people think it goes, or at least a lot of people seem to think it goes, because most people don't seem to understand how NVIDIA works as a company, and their design reference boards and controllers for their VRMs.
We're gonna
get
like that.
We're gonna go all the way down to subcomponents on GPU parts. So like, if you're looking for a stream that like goes beyond the we think this is the way that it works, this is it. Like, functionally speaking, one of the guys we're going to be showcasing tonight actually has in terms of extreme overclocking, this guy's got experience. Like, we're talking about replacing and flashing subcomponent parts on a GPU with new data packages and controllers. Like, that's the level of experience this guy's got.
Yeah, this isn't your standard. This isn't your. I mean, I say standard. This isn't your standard. Reflashing the BIOS on a graphics card. This is going much deeper.
Yep. So we're
It's going to
excited.
be
We're excited.
interesting.
I hope you guys are excited. We're going to talk about some misconceptions, and we've got the territory exploit that everybody keeps pinging us about. That might not be what people think it is.
I can't remember who it was who actually who poked us about that on the previous show, like on the Sunday show, right? Like, I think I'm gonna have to go back and recheck the chat going on the Sunday show that we did. It was a kind of an impromptu Sunday show. That's not our regular kind of like thing. Like we don't regularly tend to have a Sunday show. It's normally this kind of time,
Mm-hmm.
on a Tuesday. But yeah, whoever. I'll find your name and sort of credit you with it for sure. But like yeah, we kind of had a bit of a look into that and sort of want to get rid of some um of the sort of like the mysteries involved in that, and also some of the dispelling some of the myths that people seem to have developed along regarding that.
Mm-hmm. So we've got we've got a ton of stuff. Like, I mean, you guys can barely see this in the small screen here, but you can see me kind of getting ready. We've got a ton of news. We've got some inconsistencies in reporting. We've got official responses from developers on mechanics. We've got videos of what people think is supposed to be happening, or what people are complaining is happening, which we understand. And then we've got reminders that this isn't new. And we've got some potential exploit notifications that they might need to send out. So it's interesting what they might consider an exploit. I don't disagree, but they kind of made the system to work that way. So I'm not quite sure. Not quite sure exactly what route they're gonna go.
Well, I think the thing is, I think the thing is how many kind of how many things sort of define, how powerful the system is, and how much they build up. Like they could definitely tweak. Like I think they're right in where they're going. It's just like I think they need to tweak things, and they need to look at like, the whether it creates a system that makes people want to do something in it, rather than like think that it's either broken or or they just don't want to. They feel like it's not worth any time or effort. I think that's kind of like where the tweaking, where all that kind of stuff needs to sort of happen. I think it's good in general.
Interesting.
We'll see.
Yeah. So we've also got a couple of wars tonight. I don't think we'll be streaming that late, but we are planning on recording that content. At least I'm planning on recording that content. I don't know if McLeod's going to be up that late.
I don't think I will be.
It's like 9. You're probably going to be up, actually.
I might be.
You don't have to be. You can go to bed at a normal time.
Normal time for my time zone. That would be a change for me, for sure.
Yeah, that would be. you have a tendency to go to bed after I do, which like I go to bed at like midnight, and I'm on the East Coast. He's in the UK, and he goes to bed after I do, and I'm barely getting enough sleep as is. You guys can tell because I'm still freaking sick.
Hey, stuff needs to get done. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
I should really get like an NWO like beer cozy to put on the cans of soda that I drink, so that I'm not like given free advertising. Thanks for the follow. Valid attempt. Much appreciated. So we got some really cool, like I actually, like, you guys know me. I love talking about New World. We've been talking about it for years. Like, now's the time to just enjoy launch, enjoy how things are going. I have some content for the pre-show that could be spicy, that I don't want to put in the normal show. There was
Spicy
there's commentary from Asmongold, of all people.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can find the.
I mean, hot takes are always funny, always funny to see. Like, I mean, yeah, maybe they're probably not the, the best example of someone's actual knowledge and understanding of something.
Well, this goes deeper than that, and deeper than I would like it to go. This shows a level of just malice and ill intent that
interesting. No, that's
I don't know that I'm comfortable with. Like, it's not my strategy. Like, you guys know how I am. Like, I'm like about as relaxed as it gets. But like, this is just not cool. I'm gonna pull it up and I'm gonna play the clip. So that you guys know that I'm not making this up either. There's that. Let me make sure that desktop audio is on so you can actually hear it.
Have you not gotten bored yet? Or have I gotten bored yet? No. I mean, I'm 3.5 levels away from that. Basically, I was talking to somebody, and I told them that they're like, "Why are you trying to get to 60?" I'm like, "So I can complain that there's no content." Like, I've been farming the same 5 quests for how many months or how many days now, and I just am ready to finish the game so I can complain that it sucks. But I can't do that until I finish it. So, okay, whatever.
So, what do you guys think of that? Doing the same 5 quests over and over and over again. And he's going to complain that there's no content because he can make it to level 60 by doing the same 5 quests over and over and over again. Without
that
playing
sounds like
the other
a him
content.
problem.
Like, I don't want to throw him under the bus. He threw himself under there. I'm just watching the train wreck. Yeah. Like, you guys know me. Like, I don't like causing drama, but like, you see stuff like this where it's like, there's a certain amount of malice there that really makes you wonder, like, professionally speaking, what his goal is.
It just seems it's interesting how he wants to go there. Like, I mean, maybe he's trying
too. Like,
yeah, I don't know what kind of point he's trying to make. Like, yeah, repetitive missions are repetitive.
Yeah.
But like, that's why you progress. Why there's different areas, and that's why like you know,
Yeah.
it,
Like,
it kind
you
of
can go run
almost
other stuff. There's other
you can go
quests.
run
There's
other
other
stuff and
dungeons. There's other, like
mm,
hasn't even gotten to play Outpost Rush yet. Like, which is repeatable
yeah,
content. Who would have thought? You know,
you could be
like I don't know. I'm
like
color me intrigued that like a guy that gets that kind of following. I feel like something is amiss there. Like I don't want to be like always something's clearly off, but fastest way to level is definitely not that. Like definitely not that. Portal trains are the fastest way to level if you have the time. You combo
really,
town boards
yeah,
together. Town boards are definitely worth doing.
I wouldn't
But
do
you
yeah.
combo your town boards anytime you're in town, and do like you set up your towns with all the necessary resources to get 60% of the good quests, and you're off to the races.
Yeah,
Hey,
not all
thanks for
town
the sub.
board quests are made equal though. Like
Yeah.
some of them are much harder to do because they they request you to do like they request things that are much harder to source, much more awkward to source, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the food crafting quests, for example, from the town boards are essentially basically not even worth attempting because unless you already have the materials just laying about, like yeah, fair enough. That in that kind of sense, yeah, it's worth doing. Even so long as you've got. Actually, I'll preface this with. Oh, thanks for the sub, dude. Tabasco. I'll preface what I said with this. Like, once you've got your like cooking skills up to the point where you can obviously to the point that you are comfortable with, you can source your own. You can either make your own food or you're fine with sourcing food. For health regen and stuff like that easily, then fair enough. But like once you've done that, like if you have like all the cooking ingredients for a town board quest, sort of like cooking quest, yeah, go for it. But like most of the time, you're going to be missing one or two ingredients, and it's going to be near impossible to figure out where the hell you're going to get it from. So like, there's no point doing those.
Mm-hmm.
The armament ones are always good. The sort of like the crude iron like armor kind of stuff, always good because they always require like the same kind of components, or basically just a refined version of those components. So yeah, like, but I wouldn't do singular board quests one at a time. I would stack them and do them alongside other missions out of that settlement. And once you're done with all of the quests from that settlement, move to a new settlement. Like, you don't need to stay there. In actual fact, if you go to the innkeeper of that settlement and you like, typically he will have a like there will be a dialogue kind of option, and if you actually you go down that route, go to the innkeeper and sort of like go down that dialogue route, he'll literally say like, your skills are wasted here. You should go do something more, something better, and he'll direct you to places. That's something a lot of people don't realize. Not a lot of people know about. Actually.
Yeah. If you chain, that's a lot of what I do actually, is bounce between them. For quite a while, our faction owned all of them, so you could even use fast travel between them just to cut out a little bit of the running, catch the timers a little bit faster.
Also, clearly, this is something that Asmund may not realize because he doesn't really, if he's only doing the same 3 quests all the time. I mean, I have to wonder whether he was trolling or not, to be honest. Like, but like, you go and explore, you actually get, you get XP for that. Like, you go and explore and find like the names of you know, settlements and areas and stuff like that, you get XP for that. You know, and you go find those you know, those notes and stuff like that, the blue kind of like glowing notes and stuff all around the map. Like, that's XP. The more you collect, the more XP it is. It's not a ton, but it adds up.
Yeah, I was on a Zach Roar account. Which... yeah. Good times. So, I thought that was an interesting thing for somebody who is, you know, a professional streamer.
I mean, he's allowed to troll.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Just not my strategy. You know, I'm not the,
I tend to think
I'm
you
not the
need to be a
burning
little bit
bridges
more
strategy. Very
I
diplomatic.
tend to think, yeah, I tend to think that you need to be a little bit more embellished, you know, when you troll, in order to be like, in order for certain, you know, certain types to kind of realize that you're not actually trying to speak the truth, because so many people, you know, these days, like they don't get sarcasm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's surprisingly good
So-
XP for what it is, like the town boards. But I mean, there are faster ways, you know, like the portal chains,
Yes.
especially higher level portals. You know, like if you can get in, you know, if you're in the mid, you know, high 20s to low 30s, you can start doing level 35s, then move up to 45s, then move up to 55s and 65s. You know, as
There,
you level.
no doubt that is like probably one of the more optimal way to grind levels. But I don't know. I can't do it for long periods of time.
Yeah. Yeah, depending on the server you're on. You know, depending on the server you're on, there are definitely issues where it's like, if there's a lot going on, you risk that DC, and if it's a long queue, you know, that's gonna bite to come back. You know, for us, you know, we've got almost no queue until you get into like late U.S. time zone, which I'm a little bit afraid at the moment that like this show might run long and we might run into a queue logging back in for the war.
Yeah. So
obviously not running that while I'm streaming, because I want to make sure the stream doesn't drop frames or anything. And
no, that's fair. That's fair. Wags, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I'm at about 34. I'm at 34/35 right now. I'm just like starting to do stuff in where am I now?
Cutlass is about where you want to be
Weaver's
for
Fen.
that.
So I'm starting to do stuff in Weaver's Fen, and like typically you can do the next level of your faction kind of store in Weaver's Fen and at about 34, 35.
Mm-hmm.
It recommends 40, but like, nah.
Yeah. 3090 comes in tomorrow. Odds are it's not a gigabyte one. If it is,
You're gonna be like, oh no.
here's the thing: we're talking about substantially less than 1% of the GPUs are at risk, and it's definitely an RMA thing that they should cover because it is definitely a manufacturing issue. But we'll get deep into that, and we'll talk about the subcomponents and cough shit VRM cough that NVIDIA tends to use.
A little teaser here. Actually, we're actually going to reference somebody who was geekier than even Steve from Gamers Nexus, and Steve from Gamers
And that's
Nexus
a high
was,
bar. That's
like,
a high
bar, right?
So
Steve
I can't
references this dude when
Yeah.
he's not when he's like, this has gone too far for me. This is too technical for me, even me.
And
Steve
I'm the guy who's
references
sitting
this
there, and I'm like, you look at Gamers Nexus, and like I appreciate the content that they make, but there are fewer people than there are graphics cards that care about the heat distribution plan of their graphics card and like the pressure distribution of that system. Very few people actually care about that, and they actually spent a lot of money on the equipment to test that. I appreciate that they do it, but at the same time, nobody's buying a card because hey, it gets great cooling because the mounting pressure is equal and consistent across all of the VRMs, and it can handle the added load because of that. Great. Was gonna buy the card anyway. But that's the level they go to, and then this guy goes beyond that. In terms of extreme overclocking, this guy's the guy who's removing subcomponent chips off the graphics card, flashing them with new control software, and putting them back on. That level is the type of people that we're going to help people
That's
understand
the level that we're going to
problem.
reference.
That's the level that we're going to reference. We're gonna play part of his video because he actually does a really good job explaining it. But yeah,
you may not like NVIDIA that much afterwards, but
yeah,
we all have to make our peace in some way.
I do have to say I am a I do run a Radeon card, so people might think that I'm an AMD fanboy, but the reality is that AMD right now is doing quite well, and at the time they actually created a phenomenal card. My card is actually worth 3 or 4 times what it was worth when I bought it years ago. I have a Radeon 7, so if you go on eBay you can find used ones because they don't make them anymore. And they generally go in the 2K range. And I did not buy it for 2K. So, it's Radeon VII. It's a great card, by the way. Served me quite well. When I upgrade to my 3090, which I've been talking about getting since the preview last year, but chip shortages are a pain. Yeah. That said, I fully understand the risks of buying one of those cards. Probably more than most.
My 1070 is stood me in good stead.
Yeah, pretty much every graphics card out there has been reasonably good.
In all honesty, the 10 series cards have been, I haven't heard of much, many things going wrong with those cards at all. I think they were actually, from an NVIDIA sort of standpoint, I think they're actually pretty well built. They were pretty solidly built. 20 and 30 series, maybe not so much after you see what we're going to show you guys, but we'll see. Yeah, just swapping over to voice activity. Nice. No, I was thinking about this earlier. The growler that that Amazon sent us. Like,
Mhm.
I was thinking about getting like something, you know, streamer esque, maybe Amazon esque to drink out of like during streams and kind of thing. I was thinking, I could get like one of the sort of Twitch water bottles, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Like
and
the one
then
I've got.
and then
Not tonight, but it's in the other room.
I didn't realize you had one, but
It's
I
actually
was
really
there kind of
good.
thinking to myself. I was thinking to myself like, oh, and then I started seeing like, some people were opening up the sort of stuff, and I was like, oh, there's a water bottle thing, whatever there. So I was like, oh, I'll wait for that. That should be all right.
Yeah, I've got it on the shelf behind me.
It's unwieldy. It's
a
unwieldy
little
to
bit
drink
big
out
to
of.
drink out of, for stream.
Yeah, just a little bit.
You know, but I mean,
Um,
pretty awesome. Like,
it is awesome. I do very much appreciate it. It's just like, oh damn, it didn't. It's a little too large for me to use on stream. Something to drink out of.
thanks for the follows, guys. Much appreciated. There's some names I recognize in there. Marim. Know exactly.
Did
who
you
that
throw
is.
out a Did you throw out a tweet, by the way?
I did. I did. Yep.
You did. Oh, okay, cool. Nice. Hey guys, welcome. We're just doing a chilled kind of pre-stream at the moment. Show's going to start at the top half of the hour.
Mm-hmm. Is it the top out of? Is it the bottom of the hour?
Top half
of the hour?
I don't know
how
yeah.
I don't know how baseball works.
It's at the top of the hour, not the top half of the hour. The top of the hour.
Yep. So what you guys are joining? Because I'm seeing a bunch of people pop into chat. What you guys are joining is the longest running podcast for New World. Our talk show content. I keep calling it a podcast, but we don't syndicate it like a podcast. Basically, it's a talk show. We talk about New World. We talk about the news of New World. And fundamentally, we've been doing it the longest because we've been doing it for about a year and 10 months. Just way longer than we thought we'd be doing it before we hit launch. So, talking the news of the day for New World is our main thing. Topics for the night, of course, the 3000 series continues to have issues with being itself and not, breaking itself. We've got stuff about the territory conflict system, influence system. We've got some exploits that we're going to talk about on stream because I don't believe that it's actually an exploit.
I mean, if there's an exploit in it, like we don't have any kind of like, we don't know the reproduction steps, so
Yeah. I mean, the
it's not like we
reproduction
couldn't
steps
tell people
are
how to do
send
it.
20 people to one spot and rinse and repeat. Like,
exactly.
Engage in permanent combat. Like, I don't see that being a problem.
No.
Hooray for team play. The house. Thanks for the follow.
Hey, what's up, Douse?
Psycho Cadabra, thank you for the follow. Big Water, Wags, Bruce CWB, all of you guys, thank you. Chili RP, thank you. Obviously, we are building still our content, in terms of creating a new, not new stream, but we're obviously not normally this large. So I'm going to address the elephant in the room quickly. We are being syndicated through newworldfans.com. We appreciate the support that they give us in terms of exposure to all of the people on their site through an embedded link. So I much appreciated for that support. Gives us a lot of opportunity to grow and have our content seen by more people, and we really do appreciate that. And the whole Studio Loot team as a whole. Like, Studio Loot is the guys behind newworldfans.com. They make great YouTube content, which we're slowly trying to get into ourselves. But we've been good friends with them since way back in the day.
Yeah. they've been doing talk shows almost as long as us. You know, admittedly, they've been doing it. There's a little bit more consistently as such, which is why you'll probably find that they have probably more episodes than we do in general, kind of thing. But you know what? Like, I kind of feel like, you know, we each offer our own kind of perspective on, you know, what's going on in New World, and I think, you know, I think it's, you know, both of our kind of viewpoints are kind of worthy, you know, worthy of being, you know, appreciated by, you know, all manner of people. So,
Alan,
there's
thank you for the
definitely room
follow.
for it.
Yeah. So if you guys think of the pre-show as I don't know if you've seen the Daily Show, but it's kind of like the between the scenes. It's basically us getting stuff ready in the background because that does take a surprising amount of time, and it gives us an opportunity to just kind of chat with you guys about things we're thinking about, things that we don't want to talk about on the actual like show portion of it. But you know, it also kind of like just this fun for us to sit and do kind of a Q&A and have fun with you guys.
Yeah, get to know you guys, like you know, you get to ask random questions and stuff like that, like, you know, all fair enough. Yeah, because there's definitely like stuff that like happens in New World that like we would like to cover, but we kind of like it always kind of feels like it's only going to be like a little 5-minute thing. It's not exactly like, you know, like a really meaty topic to get into, because that's like we always find that like that's like one of the best kind of sort of types of topics to get into, the stuff that you can really kind of, you know, you can really kind of dive deep into, and like
the soldering issue is still news people are talking about. So here's the thing: more cards are failing, and they're not just the they're not just the EVGA cards. This time it's gigabyte cards. So we're gonna go and we're gonna talk about why, because that's actually really important.
Apparently, it's not just the 3090s, but you know, I have had a look at some of the reported gaming news sites about that, and you know, where they link their sources, and like literally some of the news sites, their sources are like a Reddit post of somebody who goes like, yeah, my 3090 laptop blew up when I was playing New World. You know,
3076.
Like, and that's like about it. That's the only information that you know. It's like, what, you don't even know the make of the laptop or anything. Like, you don't know if there's any extenuating circumstances. Like, yeah. So some of the claims are a little bit thin on the ground.
Yeah,
and I don't mean to
some of the reporting is a little thin on the ground. Like, Tom's Hardware needs an editor to take a look at some stuff, because we're gonna call him out directly for forgetting they wrote an article on something a month prior.
That was a funny find though. That was kind of a funny one. I was like, wow, you guys needed an editorial kind of a degree of editorial what would you call it, consistency would be the word.
Yeah,
I think that's the right word to use.
It's definitely we'll get into that critique for sure. of their particular style of reporting.
Oh yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love Tom's Hardware. Generally speaking, they've got the best like hierarchy charts. I've been like in terms of telling people like what GPUs are the best, they seem to be one of the go-to locations to get, you know, who ranks where for what card, what their scores are, and actually ranks the cards performance-wise, so you can see, hey, my card is here. I could go, 2 or 3 cards higher, but it's going to cost me this much. Or the card that I'm looking at is here. Is it worth upgrading to this one? Those kind of things are really cool. Like, I love that kind of content, but we are gonna hit them a little bit for some editorial inconsistencies. Also, I have a really weird shadow, like, or is it just my face is just messed up today? No, it's just my face. I'm just that ugly. That makes sense.
It's like, I mean, what did you want me to say? Like,
No, it
someone
checks
punch
out.
you in the face? Like, what? Like,
no, like I'm getting like a really like
anybody
dark
has.
shadow like right here, and like it's normally not a thing. So let me blind myself by increasing the intensity manually instead of otherwise, and now it's just worse.
What are you doing to yourself?
Uh,
It's because you don't have a
bad
filler
things,
light,
apparently.
dude. That's why.
I need
You don't have a
better.
fill light.
I need a light like over here.
Yeah, you need a fill light. Dude. If you would
It's
drop
going
the
for the
intensity, it
dramatic
would actually
shadow,
look better.
you know.
Yeah, you can work. You could do with the. Yeah, you could do the dramatic shadow if you want. Good.
This is. You look fine, bud. I mean, yeah. Let's be real. Like, C plus maybe. Like, come on. We both know what I'm working with. Oh. Let me drop this down to go with the mood lighting in here. See, there we go. There we go. Now it doesn't look like I'm being blinded. The only problem is this camera is gonna lose me because it's too dark in here now.
No, I think it's gonna be like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where to. I don't know where to focus.
I'm confused, and it's gonna focus back there. It's gonna focus like if I put my hand up, wait for it, boom. It's like, oh my god, I gotta focus on the hand. It can literally detect where my face is, and it goes, nope, the hand's more important.
Talk to the.
You saw
like,
it shift.
Like
You saw it
literally.
shift. Like
Like
thought about it.
Like literally. Like literally, it's taken the phrase "talk to the hand" because the face don't want to hear it anymore. Like to heart.
Yeah. Kalina, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Thank you all for the follows, by the way, guys. Like, you know, we actually really do appreciate it because we are a growing stream. We are not a massive streamer by any stretch of the imagination. We know that. We respect that. You know, the numbers in following the stream include those being syndicated over at newworldfans.com. So, you know, we're more than happy to have that exposure. We appreciate that exposure and the opportunities that it gives us. So, like, growing the community first and foremost is bigger for us than anything. So, thank you guys. Jellica, thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you for thanking us for thanking you. Thank you for thanking us. Thanking you. This could go
not go down that
loops.
like yeah. Let's not go down that particular rabbit hole. Like, spiraling into infinity.
We should see something either late this week. We should see something late this week, actually, on server transfers.
Yeah, they said that they wanted to do it, that they wanted to get it done and wanted to sort of, you know, roll it out like by this week, which obviously, you know, the latest for that would be Friday, technically.
Mm-hmm.
For them, obviously, they, you know, office hours and all that jazz.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was nice, actually. Our server might actually not be considered full by AGS at some point.
That'll actually be really nice. I always like having, you know, newer players coming into a server because it makes it more healthy. Because otherwise, like, you know, if you do it as a wave, you have everybody run through, and then you have the stragglers who are taking their time, and then they're trying to run things like Boat Swan Benjamin. See, it's trying to focus on my hand. It knows my face is here. It has that technology, but it's trying to focus over here. Bad camera. Stop that. I should really turn, like, there's got to be like a setting on there to turn off autofocus. Like, just stay focused on me. Good times. You gotta love cameras.
I'm quite liking my GoPro, actually, to be honest. Like, I'm liking my GoPro, and I'm liking the fact that, like, if I actually want to sort of have an action cam, like, I can literally just detach it and, you know, just like pop a battery in it, just go at it.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got about 8 minutes. 8 minutes, and then we'll kick off the actual show.
You know, when I had a Logitech, like a C920, like, I had people sort of ask me whether I was using a DSLR. And the trick for that, anybody who's wanting to know, is the difference between a good-looking camera and a bad-looking crappy camera. It isn't price, it's lighting.
Yes, 100%. Gold Frankie, Trevor Leahy, and Darkwing, thank you all for the follows. It is much appreciated. Loving that we're getting new people involved here. It's rare to see a talk show, but it's always good to have people. Chainwax, thank you. Much appreciated.
There's a lot of game streams, like, for New World, right? But there's, you know, surprisingly, there's not as many talk shows.
Mm-hmm. We do have a YouTube channel, if anybody's interested in that. Generally speaking, it has the content about a day later due to rules with Twitch. That said, it's generally speaking uncut, so we're looking to change that. We've recently brought on board Juris Doctor, Eve content creator. He'll be working with Naz. I'm forgetting the rest of his name. Either way, they'll be working together on YouTube content for the channel, and, you know, pulling out highlights and pulling out big things that are important from our larger streams, because oftentimes the actual show does take quite a while, or not quite a while. We're on for, you know, generally about an hour to 2 hours, depending on how much content we have to cover, and depending on the news. We try and do this every Tuesday night, starting at 6 for the pre-show, 7 for the actual show. That way we've got an opportunity to chat with people beforehand. We also generally, after the stream, hang out in our Discord public channels, which you will see are very active with our company, but at the same time, do we have a podcast on Spotify? Not yet, but soon.
We really should. Like, we should have a podcast on Spotify. I enjoy putting that, like, you know, now on Spotify, kind of like a little graphic on it.
Yeah.
So it does look pretty cool.
Yeah. Tried to post my stuff to YouTube, or not YouTube, to Facebook earlier today, and I got slapped by the New World community, like not the official one, but like some 25,000 person thing going, no, you need to upload the actual video. You can't have a YouTube. It was like, oh, okay. Very aggressive of them. It's like, that's what a weird rule. Like, you have to upload it as an MP4? Like, really? Like, it's already been uploaded. Either way, that's just me. But it should be a good time. we're looking at some pretty awesome expansion. Obviously, recently we were able to get a sponsored stream, which was real cool. And of course, moving forward, we're looking at clear skies. Now, let's see here. All right, I got a few things that I'm trying to clean up on one of the other screens, but like New World worthwhile playing solo? It can be. It can be.
Yeah, you can play you can play it solo. Like you don't.
Yeah.
You don't get as much kind of I wouldn't say you don't get as much enjoyment out of it. But like if you don't have like a circle of friends who like wants to play it with you, like I don't know where like for example maybe the majority your majority of your sort of like friend base kind of plays console games, for example, maybe or they're just not the type that plays games, and you're sort of like the oddball in there that does like playing games. Like it's cool. Like you can play it solo. You can find people to play with as well. Like in game, people are generally fairly friendly.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is like this is kind of playing solo, but kind of not. There is obviously content that's group based, but join a casual group. It's relatively easy to do. It's a thanks for the follow. Like come join us on actually we can't make a new character on our server at the moment, but down the road feel free to come join us, because like we're about as casual of a group as it gets. We don't have any requirements for joining, activity wise. Like we don't, basically, if you like stabbing stuff, we like stabbing stuff. Like, let's stab stuff together. Like, and if you just want to like pop in and be like, "Hey, I need some people to run Amarin with," then great. Like,
I mean, we do appreciate that you be sort of at least sort of somewhat sociable on like Discord, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But
and one of the cool things about being in an MMO is, of course, other people. It's a great opportunity to meet other people. It's I met McLeod playing EVE Online. Given we were in the talk show space together, I wasn't actually making talk shows, but I was on a bunch of talk shows. And McLeod, of course, was
on my talk show.
Yeah, I was on his talk show a number of times for Talking in Stations, which, yeah.
I mean, TIS was arguably at one point the biggest talk show, like in EVE.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, times change and all that kind of stuff. I had a lot of fun with a lot of cool people at TIS, but times change and people move on, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then again, the largest kind of the largest stream I ever had with TIS was probably about like the 1,000, 1,500, maybe 1,600 range. So,
were you on the Ellen DeGeneres show? No, but funny story. Earlier this year, I was on Rachel Maddow for about a quarter of a second.
Does that count? I don't think that counts, dude.
Hey. Doesn't matter how quick it is, it still counts.
Okay, that blur between the sort of 5 pieces of perspex, that was me, right?
Yep. All right. So we're going to kick it to our normal starting. We'll see you guys for the show. It's going to be a good one. All right, welcome everybody to the NWO show, your source for everything New World. We are, of course, the longest-running podcast and talk show in New World, bringing you the news relevant to the current times. So, naturally, there's going to be a few of you who are going to be like, how is 3090s still a topic if we're talking about relevant news for now? Because apparently it's still a thing. Who would have thought
it?
Yeah.
Who would have thought it?
It's obviously much appreciated that people are concerned about their hardware. To preface this story, the bleeding edge of technology, the front leading edge of the highest end consumer gear that you can buy, oftentimes comes with a challenge. It comes either in the terms of how much your wallet is going to bleed out, or how much you are going to bleed out in frustration of trying to get it to work, or it's going to do things that it might not be designed to do. But we're going to talk about this from some deeper perspectives than I think many people have covered before. We're going to go a heck of a lot deeper than J2 Cents did. We appreciate some of the testing they did because it exposed the VRM's inability to control voltage despite hard limits set by almost 30% excess in some cases. So we appreciate that kind of knowledge because that informs some of the other things that we've seen. But there's a certain measure of people diving onto this story because it's Amazon, and it's almost cliche to hit Amazon for anything because they're a colossal company. Of course, it's got to be their fault. They're an evil large corporation, and we're certainly not here to shill for them. We're here because we like the game, and we've done the research to show that we don't believe that this is connected. We don't believe that New World is the cause. On top of that, we've already had that confirmed by one hardware manufacturer who stated, in this article here, EVGA explains how Amazon's MMO brick 24 GeForce RTX 3090s, which is the most misleading headline in the world.
I was going to say, it is a bit of a clickbait title because the actual article does go into how, New World actually really isn't to blame.
Yeah. A diagnosis of needless EV... This has got to be a translation. This has got to be a translation, guys. I'm sorry about this, but this is a strange sentence. A diagnosis of needless EVGA GeForce RTX 3090 playing cards that failed while taking parts in Amazon's novel world.
Yeah, that's
clearly this is to a rare soldering concern diminutive. Okay, we're going to change this into English and translate it appropriately. Basically, EVGA comes out in the first sentence of their response with, "This is our fault. There was a batch of cards that have faulty soldering. There is a manufacturing issue with these cards." Now, they continue on and they talk about that this is substantially less than 1% of the total cards out there. Substantially less. We're talking about 24 confirmed cards from EVGA. 24. There are currently... Let me find the number so I'm not, so I'm not going crazy. There are currently 608,000 people playing New World at this moment in time. So let's put that in perspective. 24 people in the entire closed beta had a problem. So, if you're worried about your 3090,
You're probably okay.
frankly, you're probably fine. That said, we're going to go deep into this. So it goes way, way beyond face value here. So,
yeah.
EVGA is a great company. Like, they cross-ship cards. There's a collateral system involved because, like, you're sending them a card, they're sending you a card. They're potentially out 2 cards if you don't send your card. Like, it's actually an issue for them, and not an insubstantial amount of money. Yes. Now, it is very true that there are other cards that are failing from other manufacturers. That is 100% true. But this is not New World that's causing this, and we're going to dive into why this is the case soon, because there's more to this. I gotta pull up I keep losing my notes here. So obviously this has been confirmed via News of the World, Tech Times, etc. Like, these things continue to happen. So, Bricked Yours 3 days ago. We're trust me on this one. You're gonna like you're going to at least, you're not gonna like it, but you're gonna understand what we're talking about soon. Now, PC Games came out with another article that stated, "Hey, other cards are being affected. It's not just them, as you've said. Hey, I had a 3080 Ti from Gigabyte. I bricked mine 3 days ago. This is a thing. Why is this a thing?" Now, again, poor soldering was claimed to be the issue. And wow, Tom's Hardware, Jesus. Holy pop-ups, Batman. Now, they've shown, hey, this is an issue in terms of manufacturing. So we're going to go into, sorry, I'm digging through my notes here. Tom's Hardware released this article September 1st. Poor soldering, not Amazon. September 1st. We're going to push to October 1st, 5 days ago. Amazon's New World is out of beta, still killing RTX GPUs, despite the fact that they had confirmed that it was manufacturing issue the first time. So there's some inconsistencies in Tom's Hardware. Now, here we're gonna start talking about some other things, because the 3090 series, the 30 series as a whole, uses a reference design that is roughly speaking the same across the board. There are some differences between the partner boards and stuff like that they've made changes where certain brands will use better or worse equipment in order to meet the minimum specifications of the reference design to qualify to sell it at a certain rate.
And to name it as a certain thing.
You have to, in order to sell a 3090, you have to hit a minimum threshold of design to have it as that as that thing. Now, here's the thing. 3090s have been failing before this. This is not new. This is not brand new news. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, the 3090 series was wonderful. Like, it worked wonderful in all other games.
Well, that's not quite true.
The EVGA forums. March 12th. Alien Isolation killed a 3090. I give you the Linus Tech Tips board, April 22nd. My Gigabyte RTX 3090 gaming OC bricked. Like, these are not new. And this was also during what was the game they cited on this one?
Was that the Overwatch one, or is that the
Linus Tech Tips one?
Is that the it might be GTA. I think it was GTA.
Yeah, GTA caused that one. Back on the EVGA forums, I installed the card, brand new, loaded up Overwatch. Not an overly complex game. You know, a game that's been out a substantial amount of times. It bricked a card. You know, the simply put, the cards have, like, there is a portion of the cards out there that are going to fail at any point in time. So let's talk about the low-hanging fruit, because there are some of these cards that are going to have a defect in them just by raw manufacturing process, and it is what it is. That percentage is going to be roughly less than 1%. You know, it's going to be less than 1% because this is kind of a somewhat exact science when it comes to working at that scale. But there's still inconsistencies. You're also trying to maintain manufacturing lines in a chip shortage. So you might not be able to get the chips that you want. You're going to get the chips you can get a hold of.
Also during a pandemic as well.
Yes, during a pandemic, trying to keep up with demand, trying to keep up with everything else, there was a lot there. Now, one of the things that we talked about before is that there was a power issue. GPUS found this in their initial test back during the closed beta, where despite setting firm limits in the driver software, the card in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the Lara Croft Tomb Raider game, managed to go 30% beyond the power draw set by the drivers as the hard, we're going to put finger quotes on this, hard limit. Now, that's alarming.
And that may not actually be, sort of a misread by the software as well.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see why in a second.
Yep. So, we're going to continue. Overclockers. Sorry, which one was this one? So this is another 3090 crashed. Full out bricked.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's the Fallout one.
Yeah. You know, and simply put, like, these cards had the point of us bringing up story after story after story like this is that if we showed one, people would be like, "Hey, that's just one. You know, it's a fluke." Well, hey, these cards have been failing consistently. You know, we know a few people that have been playing Star Citizen who have bricked several cards. I did see the most recent GPUS video, and I equate the most recent one to ambulance chasing for views, because it doesn't bring anything new to the conversation, unfortunately. Now, here's where things get a little differently. We're going to talk about software that can change your hardware's limits. So, Firmark, for instance, is a piece of software that can change the limits on your card. There are a number of other pieces of software that can do this. It is not a standard DirectX call to a GPU to do this.
No.
Like, this
It
is
is
not
something
this is
that
not the
is-
kind of thing that you change or do anything with on the programming side of developing a game. You're not messing with anything that these kind of softwares do. We want to recognize that, yes, there are softwares out there that are able to and are designed to help you overclock cards, to help you get the most out of what you have. And that's great. That said, your general game, most of the time, if not like 99.999% of the time, are not going to be the game, they're not going to be the thing that actually does it. It's going to be a hardware fault. It's going to be, overheating. It's going to be any number of other issues. We're not trying to shift the blame entirely away from Amazon, because Amazon has already said, hey, we limited the frame rate on the title screens just to be sure. But
and to some degree, what we're kind of showing here with talking about Firmark, right, and also Stuxnet, is there is a legitimate kind of sort of worry that software can be, can be coded in a way to break through, some of the safety features of drivers and sort of overprotection and overcurrent kind of protection stuff, right? It's kind of one of the reasons why we're going through this. Like, it is something that is possible.
Mm-hmm.
But is it probable?
Is it probable?
Unlikely.
Highly unlikely. Especially after having confirmed that 24 cards. They didn't say there was a difference in those cards either. They said all 24 of those cards had a soldering issue. Like, that screams, hey, there's a manufacturing problem here, not an actual, not an actual problem. Like, problem with New World, I should say. Is it safe for your 3070 to play the game, or would, here's the thing. And we're gonna showcase this in the next video, because we're gonna showcase some content that most people haven't seen, because this is a level of geek that most people get uncomfortable with, because he goes deep. We're gonna talk about a guy who does extreme overclocking, the kind of guy who knows the subset chips that go on a GPU, and is the kind of person who takes those chips off, flashes new software onto them, and replaces them onto the board so that they can get better numbers and better overclocking. Now, that's the kind of knowledge that you need to dig to fully understand this problem. And he's also going to talk about how this is not new news for NVIDIA for a long time, actually. They've started using a certain type of shunt that is a specific problem, and their VRMs, frankly, they need to reevaluate their limiters. So there's some interesting stuff that's going to show up in this next video. We're going to go silent for this, and we're going to come back immediately after it. But we want to showcase to you guys that this is a deeper problem than one might think it is.
I think this is really Amazon's fault. I think if you're going to be building GPUs, you should maybe implement proper safety features in them, especially if you're using controllers that like literally come with the damn safety features. Like, you just need to set them correctly. Like, it's not like you have to invent your own total current protection. You just need to read the data sheet and configure it so that it kicks in when it's necessary. Arguably, if that wasn't an acceptable solution to the problem, because it would cause the cards to shut down in regular games, you should maybe revise your minimum VRM specification so that it can handle the amount of power the card actually requires. Then again, we are talking about NVIDIA GPUs here, and I can't help myself. I have to bring this up. So this is the GTX 590 reference design from NVIDIA. And the hilarious thing about this card, so, reference design by NVIDIA, right here. I know this is like an Asus branded card, but Asus had a proper GTX 590 design. I don't think they were even allowed to call it a GTX 590. I think it was called a GTX 580X2, the Mars 2 Asus card. That is like how you should actually, that's a correctly built GTX 590. The thing that NVIDIA designed, well, I mean, we can just scroll down to this part of this review and read this lovely statement over here. So as a first step, I increased the voltage from 0.938 volts to the default 0.938 volts to 1 volt. Maximum stable clock was 1850 megahertz, faster than a GTX 580. Moving on, I tried 1.2 volts to see how much could be gained here. At default clocks, and with NVIDIA's power limiter enabled, I went to heat up the card, and then boom, a sound like popcorn cracking, the system turned off and burnt electronic smells started to fill the room. Card dead, even with the NVIDIA power limiter enabled. And I have a theory on why this is. See, I suspect that the power limiter that the reviewer is referring to here is the shunt resistors, right? Because the GTX 590 is actually one of the first NVIDIA GPUs to implement a shitload of shunt resistors in order to prevent NVIDIA's inadequate VRM design from blowing up all the damn time. So you have this shunt resistor over here. You have this shunt resistor over there. These are monitored by a set of INA 219 chips scattered around the PCB. 2 of them are over here, and I don't know where the one for this thing is. Actually, it's over here. Yeah, so you have a 219 over there, and you have 219s over here for monitoring all those shunts. And the thing is, I'm relatively certain that like these again are going to have some level of averaging on their power measurements. And the thing is, like, those shouldn't be used for overcurrent protection. Okay? Because the card also has a bunch of, scroll down, has like the VRMs on this card are controlled by chill 8266s. These are fully digital, you know, what is it, 6-phase controllers? Yeah, 6-phase VRM controllers with over voltage protection, under voltage protection, over current protection, and over temperature protection. In fact, on GTX 480s, a regular modification for extreme overclocking is to tweak the current sensing circuitry on these chips in order to get rid of the overcurrent protection, because it stops you from overclocking GTX 480s to the limit. But the GTX 590 evidently has the current limit on the 8266s set to some absurd level because this card blew up. And like how I mentioned earlier in this video, like my experience with overcurrent protection is like it just kicks in before anything can happen. Because basically if the OCP kicks in, like, you can exceed the rated current of a power stage for short periods of time. Now, I can't think of a data sheet that demonstrates it well off the top of my... Actually, I think I can. I think this has a 90 amp peak current rating somewhere. Oh, no. Oh, well, I didn't remember the correct chip. Anyway, there's a power stage out there where there's power stages which will give you like a sustained output current as well as a peak output current. So you can, you know, generally exceed the power limit of the current limit of a power stage by a bit for a while, for short periods of time. And so if you have your overcurrent protection set correctly, you should never be in a scenario where your power stages blow up due to too much current flowing through them, because the moment the VRM detects that there's too much current flow, it should shut down. I've dealt with the successor of the CHL8266. Like, that's actually the controller I have most experience with when it comes to tripping OCP, was the 8228 and the 8225. Never blew a power stage on one of those, or a phase. Tripped over current protection on them multiple times, got very annoyed by it. Never blew up a chip. And yet NVIDIA, you know, makes a GTX 590, has 3 freaking shunt resistors on it, and the VRM is liable to blow up if you try to run too much voltage into the cores. Because, you know, yes, we paid for a digital multi-phase controller with a bunch of safety features, but that doesn't actually mean we're bothered to implement any of them. And I'm assuming it's the same scenario with the 3000 series and Amazon's game over here, because, like, NVIDIA has a history of doing exactly this, where they design a VRM, they don't give it OCP, and then they're just kind of like... I assume the logic for NVIDIA cards not having OCP... Actually, that's probably why the GTX 480 did have OCP. Man, this video is getting... I reshot this video because I wanted to make it shorter, but I have failed, and at this point...
All right, so we're gonna come back in. So, simply put, we'll post this video if you guys are interested in watching the rest of it. It is a 37-minute video that goes to that level of detail. This is a guy that understands that NVIDIA has not. This isn't the first time NVIDIA has had overcurrent protection issues where cards have blown up doing stuff that they should have protections for. Simply
Yep.
put, this is a design side problem, and there is a reason that it is affecting almost specifically NVIDIA cards. Like, now, this isn't new.
I
We
just
were talking
find it
about the
funny.
580
Yeah.
and 590 in there. That's not a new
Mhm.
card by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
Talking about, and the reason he's bringing that up is, hey, these problems have existed all the way since back then. Beginning of the video starts to address the Amazon stuff, and functionally we started it when he says, hey, this really isn't Amazon's fault. Like, this is standard operating for an NVIDIA reference design. Simply put, they need to update their VRMs, they need to update their controllers, they need to use appropriate controllers instead of using shunts. And the
as he
control
said,
chips
like,
on those shunts are just not
yeah.
up to par with the what's really funny here is they're not up to par with other chips that are commonly used on their own board. So
but as he says, like, it's fair enough putting those chips on, but you need to implement the the kind of like the various aspects and the functionality of that chip, to an acceptable level for for what you're trying to do. If you can put a fuse, right? For example, like classic point in case, right? You blow a fuse in something, right? Like I don't know, like a general household item, like say a toaster, right? Your toaster kind of like something pops in your toaster and you're like, oh, what the hell happened there? You open up the plug and the fuse is gone, right? First thing you do is you go, okay, right, I just need to get another fuse for that. Do you go buy the same amp fuse for that, or do you go buy a fuse that's like way higher? What do you do?
you get the same one.
Yeah,
You don't put a one. You don't set your
put a higher
overcurrent
rated
protection way higher just because
Exactly.
it blew. No, you need to set those protections. You need and here's the thing. We're not talking about like driver software here. We're talking about hard-coded software on the actual controller chip. in chat, you buy a new toaster. You don't fair. Let's.
You're not wrong, but
Like,
like if you
these
wanted to
chips-
DIY the situation,
Yeah,
but,
these chips do not talk with your driver. They don't care what your driver has to say. They have hard-coded shit on them. You can't bypass that. And when he's sorry, still got this cold.
it's all right, man.
When they talk about this, you hear them from the perspective of, hey, there are ways of like getting that thing to do that or getting it to change its levels, but it is nowhere near the same. You have to actually flash that chip. You have to change the actual pathing and current going to it. It is very, very different than changing your driver software. Like, just simply put. So we wanted to showcase that because that is a level of detail that most people don't go into. And when you're talking about who's at fault for this, you need to understand that NVIDIA, despite the fact that they make a lot of really good cards, I still want a 3090. That's not, it's not going to stop me because less than 1% of the cards out there, far less than 1% of the cards out there are failing due to manufacturing issues. Simply put, that's the thing. Now, the other side of this is, yes, there are other cards out there that are failing. Again, other manufacturers, other chipsets, AMD is not alone, or NVIDIA is not alone in having having issues. The 20 series has had issues. The 10 series has had issues on NVIDIA. AMD cards have had issues as well. There will always be a level of hardware issues that come up whenever you mass produce anything. That is why the RMA process exists. Now, why is this showing up so much more than anything else? Simply put, this is where all of the eyes are. All of the eyes are on this at the moment because all of the eyes are on this at the moment because New World is the big thing. On Sunday they were at 900 and some thousand concurrent users. So all eyes are on the new MMO launch. Everybody's getting in. We're not talking about a large number of people being affected by this. We're talking about what is likely to be the industry standard for card failure due to manufacturing defects. The first wave that everybody was like, oh my god, everybody with a 3090 should panic, panned out to be 24 cards.
Yeah,
Now,
not exactly.
Some people are like, oh my god, that's a lot. That's a large number of cards. That's the minute number of cards.
The tiny amount of cards.
Yeah.
Like, honest to God. One of the other things is as well is back at that particular kind of time as well. There was a lot of speculation. Oh, my 2060 blew up. Oh, my 3070 blew up. All that kind of stuff like that, right? Like people talked about how they're different variants of EVGA cards like blew up as well. Like EVGA came out like in that thing to say the only cards that they had like legitimate RMAs for regarding that kind of thing were specifically 3090s. So you have to kind of take it with a bit of a grain of salt. That some people will just complain for the sake of complaining and make shit up just to see if they can kind of get some free shit out of it. Like for example, there's a fair amount of the sort of the articles out there saying New World blew this card up, or New World blew that laptop up, etc., right? You actually look, actually going and looking at what their references are. Most of them are just like, the odd Reddit post saying, I was playing New World on my 1060 laptop. Literally, it's like this is how it's written. Like I was playing New World on my 1060 laptop, and it got really hot, and then suddenly switched off, and now it doesn't want to turn back on again. Like okay, what laptop? Like there's so little information out there that like I could make these like levels of no effort posts really easily.
Yes. Now, the other thing, and this needs to be said much more often than it's said in the current day, but as somebody who grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, I need to remind people that just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. Like this is one of your Reddit moderators talking to you. Guys, just because it's out there doesn't mean it's true. There's another topic that we're going to talk about much later in the show that hits on this as well. Don't believe everything that you've heard. Simply put, it's not all true. We live in an age where misinformation is a thing. It is a business concept at this point. This isn't a game that's played fairly. So, remember those things. But also remember that in anything that you buy, there is always a chance of a hardware defect. What percentage of cards that is unknown. But whenever you get a massive amount of people together, you get a massive amount of different hardware configurations together, there is always going to be people's cards who fail, it's simply because there was a bad soldering issue, there was poor VRM design, poor heat distribution, individuals failing to blow out and maintain dust control in their computers, their power supply literally blew up. Like, those are all things that happen. So, understand that those are definitely things that go on. You can't 100% blame Amazon for this. Now, could their code be more efficient? Yes. But what I would submit is the 900,000 people who were connected to the game the other day on Sunday, and I would say hey, you know,
Yeah, they weren't
doesn't
all
seem to
using
be,
Intel
doesn't seem to
graphics,
be a
by the way.
scaled thing here. What do they all have in common? New World? Yeah, because everybody's playing New World. And one of the things that we showed earlier on, and we'll go through all the links again here. Hey, Alien Isolation killed at 3090. Here's another Alien
Killed two?
Isolation one.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Here's
killed two through the 3090s.
let's see, this one is, what did they confirm the game? This one's a GTA 5 one, I think. Simply put, there's a lot of cards dead out there, and it's for a reason. Like, simply put, there will be card failure. When you get a massive amount of people together, you're going to see all of the different things that happened. What is the New World Order show? We're a talk show focused on New World specific content. So right now we're covering the 3090 issue. Welcome, by the way. So, that and the reason that we're kind of passionate about this is because this topic has been done to death, and it's being kept alive by ambulance chasing content creators who fundamentally just want to keep the controversy going for views. Like, we're talking about so few cards right now that it's unbelievable. It's unfortunate that it's happened, but that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to continue on, and we're going to cover some more in-game news here. As my camera eventually decides to focus on what should be my face. Hidden mechanic. So,
yes,
we're going to talk about faction influence and how
it was brought up. Yeah, it was brought up on Sunday, and so we decided that, like, you know what, like, it was brought up in chat on Sunday. So we thought, you know what, like, for this show, that we'd go into, have a look into, the controversy and the issues surrounding it. So, yeah.
So, territory conflict. This is gonna piss some people off. Like, I'm not one to like cause controversy, but this is gonna piss some people off, and it's gonna bug me that this is sagging for no reason. So I'm gonna fix that. It's causing the back of my monitor is causing it to have issues with the autofocus.
Yeah.
So, territory influence isn't a fair game.
No, it's not.
It's not designed to be a fair game.
Yeah, strangely enough, people think that it might be, but it's not. Like,
Yeah.
if it is a fair game, then unfortunately, if it was designed from, to be a fair game entirely, like, then the influence of players and player groups would immediately turn it into being an exceptionally unfair game.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that it is kind of like built to be an unfair game to start off with means it actually can, fight against the forces of players, or the kind of like the desires of player groups to dominate other player groups, to make it actually be a little bit more fair.
Yep.
And a little bit more hopefully a little bit more entertaining. That's the idea, at least.
Now,
but sorry.
Basically how this works is you have faction control penalties and buffs based on territories controlled by factions. So on our server, for instance, Covenant owns 6 territories. In those 6 territories, in the remaining 4 territories, it's owned 2 and 2, I believe. I think it's almost even 2 and 2.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
So we are the overdog. We have a penalty associated to turning in our faction PvP missions, meaning we have to run a lot of them because we are winning. We have a substantial advantage on the server, right? Now, if that advantage didn't exist, there would be no way, or that debuff didn't exist, there would be very little way for the underdog, who only owns 2 territories, to come back and take territory. So functionally, and this is where people this is where like it's designed to do this, and this is where we can say, hey, Amazon, this is probably a little bit too unfair at the moment. We should consider like a smaller scale of buffs and debuffs because it's getting a little iffy. Turning in a faction board quest or PvP quest for the faction board as an overdog, you get less than the underdogs do by a wide margin, actually.
Yeah. And that difference can widen over time as well. Like, so,
Yes.
and that's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize as well, is the longer that kind of the sort of disparity between the overdog and the underdog kind of exists, the kind of the more the more that the underdog is kind of boosted, the more the overdog is kind of reduced in terms of their capability to fight against it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is
You
based
know,
on the number of territories owned, as well as I believe there's a factor in there for the number of people in each faction.
yeah,
so-
we don't. The thing is, we don't know all the factors involved because, you know, Amazon hasn't expressly shown, you know, what factors or said what factors, you know, influence it as such. They've said a few things, but it's very likely that it's going to be more than just what they've, you know, specifically said so far. Because, you know, the thing is, when it comes to mechanics like this, if the community knows entirely and exactly how it's constructed and how it functions, then it's, you know, we can, you know, we're MMO players, we could pull that apart and piece it back together and go, okay, this is exactly how we need to play in order to get the absolute maximum effectiveness for the most minimum effort, right? And so you don't kind of want to show all of your cards as a developer as to how certain mechanics kind of work.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's the thing. They want war to happen. Owning a territory should not be a guarantee. You should be able to fight back against it. You should be able to aim to control it. But at the same time, you know, there are other factors. They want that content to be played. They, you know, it needs to happen to be healthy. Changeover of who owns territory needs to happen. Otherwise, you know, if you own Everfall permanently, it's a lot of money. A lot of money.
Oh yeah.
So
and
just remember those things. Like,
so the thing is, I think one of the things that you know, is sort of should be somewhat evident is that nobody wants to play a game that is just endlessly frustrating or seemingly, you know. So the thing is, with the forum kind of threads that are being created at the moment, right? You kind of know that Amazon kind of does need to tweak this. And the reason why you know that Amazon needs to tweak this is because people think that there is some really dodgy shit happening. There might be, there's one or two videos out there that kind of seem to go against kind of, you know, sort of, you know, ideally what the system is them and what's meant to be happening and that kind of thing. There's very few examples of that because a lot of the videos that are shown don't give enough information. Like, for example, you know, they don't show, like in the video they show like they show the territory increasing and they might show the territory increasing, but they might show sort of, you know, the people coming in or the small group of people coming in and turning in faction quests, right? But they don't show, you know, the amount of territories owned by the various factions, right? Because if it's basically a whitewash, you know, over the whole map, then yeah, those missions that the other faction are kind of handing in should be fairly powerful when it comes to sort of the influence, right?
mm-hmm.
Others show, you know, the distribution of the territory, but they just show the influence, and they don't show how many people are handing in those influences. Like there could be 100 people going in to hand influence missions. You know, they could be handing in what is effectively a total of, say, 300 faction missions. Like, you don't know. Like, and that's the thing. You need good information. You need good videos showcasing, like, you know, what's going on with this. And you need the right information in those videos to give a good understanding as to what's going on. Because otherwise, you have missing data, and because you have missing data, like, you can't validate what you're seeing because there's a whole bunch of missing variables there, right? There's one or two videos that are a little bit alarming. Where is it? There is one that basically shows that shows all the relevant information, right? It shows the territory spread, right? It has 4 syndicate territories. It has 4 covenant territories, and it has 3 marauder territories, right? And it shows, you know, two players going in that are syndicate, that are handing in quests, and that can only be a maximum of 6 quests. But they hand in what is a maximum of six PvP quests and gain 23% influence. That to me seems a bit weird. You know, that's the only one that I've seen that is really kind of strange. There's one that's a little bit, you know, less in terms of extreme. But the thing is, like, you have to understand that the system is there to sort of increase the underdog and decrease the overdog, right? You know, yeah, Amazon might need to go in and tweak some stuff, but on the whole, it doesn't seem as though it's like massively like a massive issue. I just think that a lot of people may be kind of like, you know, taking that kind of like problem and running with it just because they might be like, you know, being affected by it negatively more than they feel that they should.
Mm-hmm. Now, that should be the current debate. You know, not if the mechanic is unfair. It's to the degree of how much makes it fair, because this is definitely something that can be changed. So the question becomes, how much of an advantage do you give the underdog, and how much of a debuff do you give the overdog? I don't know the answer to that, but I think many people would argue that it's not where the current balance is.
No, if people are making,
Yeah.
if people are, you know, if people are like making honest kind of opinions as to being concerned that there's a bug because of how the system is functioning, and by that I mean, like, they're not just, you know, creating posts because they want to change the game to their favor, right? You know, if they're making legitimate posts that they're concerned that there is a bug because of what they see, then clearly the system isn't functioning how it probably should, right? Because if it functions how it probably should, then people shouldn't feel like they're being cheated out of something, right?
Yeah. That said, you know, there is a certain measure of, you know, people want equality, but there's also a measure of equity here.
Yeah.
Where if there,
that's
you know,
true.
let's say for instance, you know, you're on a server, you're the underdog, you own a territory, and you know you've got Covenant that owns the whole map other than one territory. You know, should your turning in a quest give more influence than their turning in a quest, in order to destabilize it and hopefully rebalance the server? Like that's the intended goal, and that's the hope, and maybe they can find some balance on this. This is obviously an early pass. I think that it's, in all honesty, I think it's a good thing, because in the short term it causes more wars, which people want to be involved in wars. They shouldn't be a rare thing. You know, you should have to defend. You should have to, if you own territory, there is a level of commitment there that comes with the value associated with the money you're pulling from taxes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah, so you know, and we've got a couple of videos that if people want to watch those, we'll be more than happy to post them in our Discord. But I'm gonna continue, and I'm actually just gonna read the developer response on this specific topic. You know, the functionality you're describing here is intended. The game behaves this way to ensure wars occur frequently, as well as to create regular opportunities for underdog factions to battle a dominating power. While this is important to run PvP missions as a controlling faction of a territory, you can only stave off the inevitable for so long. Eventually, you will have to test your mettle against the opposing army. From a design perspective, we want wars to occur. They're fun, they create social tension and excitement, and they give large groups of players the opportunity to work together towards a goal. It also evens the playing field on a fundamental level. Regardless of how many total people are in a given faction, the war is between two armies of 50. Over time, it gets easier for companies in the factions that do not control a territory to generate influence that pushes that territory into conflict to enable a war declaration. The mechanism that adjusts the influence contributions does not happen immediately. There is a grace period after a war where all efforts are equal, after which influence contributions begin increasing over time for the factions that are vying to take control of the territory. We know that these mechanics aren't very clear, and we're discussing ways to make them clearer in the future. At this time, we don't have an ETA for that change, because it would be prioritized against other, potentially more critical changes, updates, and fixes. Thanks for highlighting this point of confusion in the system. Your feedback is valuable as we continue to improve New World going forward. This is all stuff that they're putting on their forums, by the way. They are open to having these conversations. You know, for anybody who thinks these things are set in stone, they're far from set in stone. You know, as somebody who's been around in the community for New World for the last 3, almost 4 years, they listen to the community. You know, this system is going to continue to happen because that's what it's designed to be there for. That said, maybe it's tweaked a little bit too powerful. Maybe it needs to be balanced a little. Until then, we get to fight wars. Like, great. You know, and the other side of this is open world PvP happens, which to the hundreds of people that sent me a thing saying open world PvP is dead can bite me at this point. Sorry, some long stems on that if we keep pulling.
That thread goes for some time.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Back in March, this was announced. To avoid that total feeling of defeat, we've been careful about tuning the benefits of being a faction that controls the majority of the territories, while paying extra attention to making the factions that control fewer territories feel like underdogs, not the losing side. No matter who is winning in the moment, we've built the system in a way that makes strong comebacks an exhilarating part of the game. So, simply put, if you want to hold territory, you can stave it off by turning in faction quests. But eventually you're going to have to meet on the field of battle, and that is what the system is designed to do. That is what it should continue to do. It is the level at which of benefit or debuff that any one side gets that we should be discussing. Not, I don't feel fair because, they had fewer guys turning in missions than us. Well, yeah, but they also have less territory, and you get an Azoth bonus for everywhere that you go if you own the whole map. So, like, yeah. We can talk post show. For those that don't know, we are obviously not developers. We don't work for Amazon Game Studio. We have been in their creator program for the last almost 2 years. And we are supported by Amazon Game Studio, as you can see below the stream, in a number of ways, including some of the assets that you've seen on stream. So just want to ensure that is clear. This is not a paid ad or sponsored stream in any way. We're doing this because we build content specific to New World. So, let's talk about another one. Limitless boar spawn. So, there are a number of places on the map that you can go where if enough people are there, mobs will continually respawn before the last of them die, which means you can functionally farm them over and over and over and over again. This allows you to finish things like skinning level 200 relatively quickly. That said, the response here is, in my opinion, questionable, because I don't necessarily see this as an exploit. The territory is respawning enemies to make it more difficult. Taking advantage of that with enough people to support you in the right composition is a feature, not a bug. This is an MMO. If you're going to develop a dynamic spawning system, you should assume that players are going to find a way to have that spawn system work in their favor. Or tune it way up. Yeah. Tune it way up. Make it very hard for them to do anything. Like, that'd be great. That said, that would also have a number of impacts that potentially could could be an issue. So fundamentally, I'm not particularly worried about this. They came out saying it's considerably could definitely be considered exploitable, and the team is aware of the issue and working on a fix. But functionally speaking, this is happening all over the map, so I don't know what that fix is going to be, other than changing the dynamic spawns, which are there for a reason. Because, for instance, if you're sitting there waiting for Henry to respawn over in the pirate base, you could be sitting there for quite a while without the dynamic spawns. But if there are a bunch of people standing there, then you can all kind of kill him over and over and over again, because he's there as a mission spawn. You don't want to be waiting all the time. So there's a healthy balance in the middle here, but I don't know what it is.
And that's the thing, right? Like most of these like infinite spawn kind of like areas, and these specifically infinite spawn kind of NPCs are NPCs that are, part and parcel of a quest, required for some form of quest completion, right? And that's the reason why they're infinite.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
If they were in any way not, then they would be endlessly frustrating while you had like massive groups of people just sitting around waiting for the next spawn to happen. Like, I mean, there are spawns out there that are, for side quests that are kind of like that, and they are, definitely the more frustrating, of the side quests to do. And sometimes, like, even some of the faction MP like PvE quests are like that. Like, there's a sort of there's a bear kind of mission, I think, in Everfall, that's kind of like that. We have to skin a bear that doesn't spawn that often at all. Like, yeah, it's a classic point in case, right?
So that's definitely a thing. Simply put, I don't know where they're going to land on this one. They don't have an estimated date on when we're going to get this, but I would expect us to see fixes to some of these kind of issues within a couple of weeks. And if things hold to their current pattern and known pattern for things, I would assume that many of these patches will occur on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
So setting expectations for people, having been around for a long time, Tuesdays generally the day, if not Wednesday. That's for those that don't know about gaming industry type stuff. Often things happen on Tuesday because, one, it's the lowest activity for the week, and the other side of it is that it's also the day you get the Monday to validate, ensure, hey, this is the package we want to submit. This is the patch we're going with, and then from there you push forward, and you have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before you start paying overtime for anything that patch breaks. So,
exactly. You know, if you've ever been if you've ever played or sort of had a game that patches on a Friday, and you know what that's like, where a patch hits and it's like a bad patch, and there doesn't seem to be any movement whatsoever or any activity whatsoever from like the developers over the weekend. Like, you know, that is the reason why, like, you know, it's almost an industry standard now that you know, that games patch on a Tuesday rather than, you know, just before a weekend.
absolutely. So that's another one that's good to know for people. So let's talk about server transfers for a moment. There is no new news yet, but a source willing to confirm this was willing to say that we should expect something potentially by the end of this week in terms of a patch notes type thing for here's how the server transfers are going to work, and how that system is designed at minimum. So from there, I would expect to see it Friday, in all honesty. That way they can get the added traffic of seeing things Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we might see the actual implementation of it on Tuesday, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I would think so.
So, for those that don't know, it's a relatively simple system. You're taking a character's inventories from a set of tables, and you're basically copying them from one database and bringing them over to another database to work on a different server. It's relatively simple. The only catch is that it's a lot of tables. So, if anybody else out there is a data analyst, you and I both know that I oversimplified that quite a bit, but the hope is that is what it is. You know, it should be relatively simple. It's something that we've asked for since the closed beta, when we saw problems where servers were getting overrun. You know, yeah. Now let's talk about moderation. Mojo Murray TV sent me this. This was on Reddit for a short time before I pulled it down myself, because it's wrong. So,
yeah,
there is not currently an auto ban system installed in New World. It is not a thing. Developers have confirmed a number of times that it is not a thing. All bans are dished out by a person.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's fine that you have an opinion, but don't state that opinion as fact.
Yes.
Just saying. Like, you know, if you state that as an opinion, then fair enough. But like, you know, if you go and state something as a fact, like this guy did, then yeah. Expect a moderator to come and slap you about the face. Yeah. Just simply put.
There's been a number of these where people have been like, "Well, we tested it and it worked. You know, we tested it 3 times." Right. So you spent $120 and 3 Steam accounts to test it. You know, sure you did. Again, don't believe everything you see on the internet. Also, if you are mass reporting people, expect repercussions for that if it is not warranted. So
you may know a little bit about that in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, just putting that out there.
But not in any, obviously not in any kind of, you didn't do it in any kind of malicious sort of way. You know, the people who you're reporting, you know, freaking deserved it, to be honest. Yeah, so one of the other things as well that I think we also need to make sure that people understand and realize is, you know, just because people get unbanned does not mean that the ban that was put on them was automated in any way, shape, or form. Like, you know, yeah, Amazon Games says that every single ban is seen by an actual person who actually presses the button for that. Like, it's not automated in any way, shape, or form. The thing is, people also make mistakes, right? People also, potentially. I don't know how the sort of moderation team look to, how to sort of define what the moderation team gets paid, or how they get paid, or what their performance, the performance metrics are, that kind of thing. I know from, from other from other sort of industries, as well as other sort of companies in the gaming kind of scene, that sometimes that kind of stuff is performance based, and they would like to see their moderators get through a higher number of moderation kind of cases, or at least hit a quota, right? And this is the thing, this is kind of speculation. I don't know whether Amazon Games are kind of doing something similar to that, in which case maybe the moderators kind of feel a bit pressured to, to get those bans out there kind of thing as fast as they can. And so they're not maybe looking as closely as they should be. We don't know. We don't know this in any way, shape, or form. It could be the case. It might not be the case. But, the thing is, when a real person at the end of the line is there to sort of dish out that ban, it's a real person. They can make a mistake. And if they've made the mistake and they've reviewed it again, or it's come back and they've had to review it again, and they found that it was a mistake, and people get unbanned, see that as what it is. A person made a mistake because they're human, and they are correcting that mistake. Don't see it as a clear, freaking sign that it was some automated system, and that they're trying to cover it up, because that's not the case.
Mm-hmm. And maybe there is a click happy mod out there. It happens. For me, for those that don't know, I moderate the subreddit r-New World game. So there are times where we misclick. Like, actually last night, while I was cleaning up the queue for the like the midnight shift, basically. I accidentally hit the wrong guy with the ban. Like, I caught it in the morning where the guy was like, "Hey, like, I didn't do anything," in the mod chat. And I'm like, "Ugh, who was I banning? Who was I supposed to ban? Is the real question."
Yeah. And the other
so
thing
like
is,
that kind of thing happens where
yeah.
Sometimes misclicks happen. Sometimes there's technical issues. You name it, there's all kinds of things. Oftentimes we'll remove content on the subreddit in terms of like people saying, "Oh, well, that was cringe." Well, you're not adding anything to the conversation. Like, simply put, like, I'm sorry, but like, we won't remove it if it's contributing. But like, we do pull down stuff that is just out there to just be like aggressive to people. Like, I don't know what the word for that is. Like, toxic in some way. Like, because like some people will say like something that, and this is the same with memes. So like we're just going to talk about the subreddit at this point. I'm just going to pull up the.
Might as well just go into it,
Yeah.
And the other thing I think that people need to remember as well when it comes to moderation is, when you get banned, like, or you get like, if you get banned or kicked in some way, shape, or form, say in game, right? Like, it's unlikely that you're being kicked or sort of like banned for anything that you're doing right at that moment. Like, it could have been something, could very well, if not be extremely likely, that what you're being moderated for is actually something that happened maybe an hour ago, for example, right? people don't get banned for milking cows.
Hmm.
Simply put, right?
I mean, like, I can't show you the queue because I'm 99% sure something is in the queue that is gonna get the channel banned for airing. For those that don't know, like when you look at a moderation queue, generally speaking, you're looking at the dredged bottom of the worst stuff on the subreddit. Like you don't get to see the happy-go-lucky posts. You get to see all of the terrible, awful stuff that's at the bottom that you just oh god. And you gotta have thick skin because like the number of times that like you removed my meme, and I'm personally offended because you're a terrible person and you hate me specifically. No, I don't hate you. I hate I hate people who put in low effort.
You just either conflicted with the moderation policy, or or in some way, shape, or form. Like there's no reason to suddenly go on a tirade of calling me or calling the moderators, all of the worst kind of things under the sun. That's not going to get your case heard or put in a more sort of serious, like you're not going to get your case kind of seen in a more serious or a more kind of like thoughtful light if the first thing you do is go on a vicious tirade against the moderators, like in PVMs.
So there's a question about laggy desync dungeons. There is a work in progress for that. Basically what they're doing right now to fix it is rebooting servers, which I know is not the ideal solution for it, but they do have a work on that specifically happening. So like that'll likely be in one of the first patches. But yeah. I'm realizing that I also need to start New World because I need to get in queue for the war for later.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'm gonna make sure that my desktop audio is off because the intro for New World will blow it up.
Oh yeah. Oh, it definitely will.
That's the extent of the content we had for tonight. I want to thank the massive amount of people that hit the follow button, that stayed with us for basically the whole show. Fundamentally, thank you guys. We wanna continue to just say, you guys are why we do this. We love having you around. Thanks for the follows. Thanks for the subs. Thanks to our awesome Patreons. Anybody who joins the Discord, just hangs out and chat, good or bad, we're here for you guys. Whether we like your opinion or we want to challenge it and have the public debate, that's where the fun is.
I like challenging opinions. I like debating that kind of stuff. That's cool.
So that said, after the show, if you guys are game to continue the chat, we will be in our public Discord. Which I'll have McLeod type the thing, and we'll be in the public channels chatting with you guys. Feel free to drop in. It'll be a good time. So with that, as we always like to say, we'll see you guys in the New World.